Hi and welcome to Across the Desk. Well, it's been a busy week here in Oklahoma with the passing of no abortion in Oklahoma bills, and we just got done with a week of candidate filing for all the state races, including governor's race, the state senate, and state house, as well as attorney general. All of that's being filed and been filed this week, so candidates start for the midterm elections coming up. And there's been a whole bunch of other stuff going on, the attack from the GOP and those people they don't like, as well as more machinations from a little well-known group here in Oklahoma, OCPA, who keeps crying their eyes out over PAYCOM, and that's what we have in store for you on the show this week. So, a lot of things have been going on this week in Oklahoma. Passed a near total ban on abortion except to save the life of the mother, and even then there's probably going to be an investigation and possibly an arrest, at least until we can clear that it wasn't really an abortion that happened. And they do go to claim, hey, the mother's not going to be any charge of this. Nathan Dahm had to come out on a show. Of course, there was no banter on the other side. All they did was they read a statement. This was on Channel 5 ABC, which was totally lopsided. A totally lopsided interview that they gave with Nathan Dahm on Senate Bill 612, where they said, well, Emily Virgin gave this statement. They read the statement and let Dahm do some rebuttal, but without Emily Virgin even being there to defend herself. They wouldn't even let her on there. So you knew this was a hit job right from the start. And when Nathan Dahm comes out and says, oh, that Emily Virgin, she doesn't know how government works. You know, probably because she's a woman, and I'm pretty sure that's the way he thinks, because, you know, he's a misogynist type guy like that. We've seen it before in him. But anyway, going on, the most interesting thing that I think I saw today was an article I read from OCPA. Now, you probably don't know who they are because they're really a little-known group. And what they are is they're a think tank. And what they do is they promote conservative ideals, conservative candidates, donate money to them, take in money, and, you know, be little whipping boys for Stitt and O'Connor and everybody else. As you notice, a long time ago, Stitt did this thing against the 35 tribes in Oklahoma. He wanted them to pay more rates on their gambling that they were doing than they were giving to Oklahoma already. Well, they kind of gave it to Stitt, put it to him a little. So what did they do? Well, Stitt kind of hired OCPA to kind of be his little reinforcements here because he got his butt kicked. And they sent him millions of dollars, and OCPA, all they did was put out 2 memes. So wow, you know, $1 million a meme, that was quite a payday. But anyway, what happened was it quickly went downhill, and you never heard about it again because, well, Stitt got his butt handed to him, and it just doesn't look good. So they kind of buried that. But anyway, getting back to this OCPA and this Ray Carter guy. Well, Ray Carter is probably one of the biggest cowards in this state. I can think of a few. But this guy really takes the cake because he loves to dish it by giving money to conservative causes and Republican candidates and everything else. He's just way too big of a coward to take it because he actually puts out an article talking about how Democrats are giving money to GOP candidates and Democratic causes. Oh my, I can't believe Democrats are actually giving money to people. Don't they know only conservatives can do that? So this is what got Ray Carter all miffed and anxious right last week because, see, there's a guy, Richardson. He's the CEO of a company called PAYCOM here in Oklahoma. Well, Ray Carter really doesn't like this guy because, one, the CEO of PAYCOM really stuck it to OCPA. And OCPA went after him, sued him for defamation, all kinds of stuff, because, you know, the CEO of PAYCOM really stuck it to him. And Ray Carter, well, it frustrated him so bad, he cried and he peed himself. So now every chance he gets, he's got to do an article about the CEO of PAYCOM. Because, see, when it comes down to multi-million-dollar corporations like oil companies or anybody else, well, they're only allowed to give to Republicans and conservative causes. You see, because a coward like Ray Carter is not going to be able to put up with anybody other's million-dollar corporation like PAYCOM given to anybody else that he disagrees with. So he's got to do an article about it. And he cries his eyes out. Oh, these people are donating to the Joy Hoffmeister and this Republican candidate against John O'Connor. See, there's a guy who's running against John O'Connor in the Republican primary. Now, as far as I know, there isn't a Democrat that is running yet. We may know after this week. We'll see. Maybe somebody went down to the Capitol, because of course this week was also candidate filing week down at the Capitol for all the state races, including Attorney General. So maybe next week we'll know who's running against Attorney General O'Connor in the race for the Attorney General, because let's face it, Attorney General O'Connor, he was put in there by Stitt. He's a personal yes man to Stitt. That's why he was put in there, you see, because, see, the Attorney General of Oklahoma, he's very unethical and unprofessional, and this was even said so when he was nominated for a seat on the bench, and not even a Supreme Court bench, just some regular federal bench. It was decided that the guy didn't have the ethics enough and the professionalism enough to sit on that bench. Too many conflicts. So there you go. But that makes sense for Kevin Stitt to want a guy with a lot of conflicts, because see, Kevin Stitt's all about intimidation, extortion, and control. So then you can see this in what happened to the other AG, Hunter, who was resigned because, you know, all this other stuff leaked out about him and his marriage. Well, I wonder how that happened. Right a week or two after he disagreed with Stitt on policy and refused to sue somebody for him. So Stitt puts out stuff and just, you know, hey man, you have to resign so I can put my yes man in there. And that's exactly what we have with O'Connor. And it makes sense, because since O'Connor's so unethical and unprofessional, well, this gives Stitt leverage, you see, because O'Connor, you need to do my bidding, because if you don't, I have all this leverage against you and I might leak something. So that puts O'Connor in a very precarious position to where he ends up being the governor's attorney and not the state's attorney. Because you see, Kevin Stitt, when it comes down to it, the conservative value of corruption is all about Kevin Stitt. And that's what we get right there. But getting back to this Ray Carter coward with OCPA and his whiny, crying spiel about Democrats donating money to political candidates. Oh, and he goes on to talk about, hey, this one guy gave a donation, legal donation, but he put 2 different addresses down. Oh, that's just so nefarious. I think there's a conspiracy. Not only that, he claims this one guy put down that this one guy was a retired banker and another guy said he was a banker for Bank First. So which is it? Which is it? One guy says this, another guy says another, and Ray Carter goes off on another twisted rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, talking about how Democrats that are donating money are so corrupt. Look at this, can't even put down the right stuff. They can't even get together and decide what this guy's doing. So that's Ray Carter for you. And then he comes out and says the Paycom CEO disagreed with Lucas and who was it? The other guy down there is CD3, Senate District 3 or House U.S. District 3 over there. And so the Paycom CEO disagreed with these 2 legislatures on some policy, COVID policy, and Ray Carter has to go off on a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon to get to some point that he says, see, because he disagreed with Lucas and Tom Cole, that means he's, a Marxist socialist who wants to take away your freedoms. And that's exactly what this Ray Carter guy was saying. He was so embellished what is going on and what they're doing. And he wants to make some kind of big nefarious thing about Democrats playing by the exact same rules Republicans do. Because here you go. It's a Paycom CEO wanting to give to Democrats, Democratic causes, and influence campaigns and influence policy with his $1 million company. But, you know, that right there is just a bit too much for Ray Carter, because really, when it comes down to it, only guys like Harold Hamm and Larry Nichols are allowed to do that kind of stuff, as far as he's concerned, because, you know, they're the guys paying Ray Carter's paycheck. Ray Carter, he's some kind of media guy. I worked for the Oklahoma. I was an editor for the Oklahoman. Oh, wow, guy, you're just somebody. He's really a nobody. The guy's a lowlife. He's really a coward. And you can see it in all the stuff Ray Carter writes. He whines and he moans and he cries about everything that anybody does that he disagrees with. And it's weird. The way he disagrees with it is like, hey, you know, they're doing all this stuff that we do. That's going to make me cry. And he does, and he cries about it. I mean, look at the guy. Look at him. I mean, it's not like, I can see why he cries all the time. The guy cries all the time. That's what he does. It's what he does with OCPA. And they come out trying to be the reinforcements for Kevin Stitt against the Indian tribes and totally fall on their butt. And then you get these things where he wants to come out against a Paycom CEO, and he does this a lot. You can see it in a lot of things. He writes about this guy a lot because this guy really gets under his skin. I love it. I hope the CEO of Paycom stays alive and does this stuff for a long time, because there's nothing better than to be able to frustrate a conservative coward like Ray Carter. There's really nothing like that ever. You just got to sit back and enjoy it. So if you do, liberals, please go look this guy up. I know you probably don't know much about him, but go look him up. And if you're just really looking for a laugh and a little bit of good entertainment for your evening, go read some of this guy's loony stuff. And you'll just have a great evening. You'll laugh. You may even cry, and then you'll shake your head and go, oh my God, there's really people out there like this coward living in our state. It's so amazing. That's just the amazement of it all. But other stuff has happened this week. Not anything as exciting as watching Ray Carter pee and cry all over the place. But really, the abortion ban, the full abortion ban, oh my God, that's so draconian and going to cost us a bunch of money. John O'Connor getting out there talking about how he's all going to fight for conservative values while he's fighting against a conservative to keep a seat. And he's never run a campaign before, looking like a deer in headlights back in December and November last year when they asked him, hey, you got to run a campaign because your race is next year. How much money do you think you're going to need for that? And he was like, I got to run. Governor appointed me. Yeah, he appointed you, but you have to run again because it's up for election 2022. And they asked him, how much money are you going to need? He was like, I don't know. And that's exactly what he did. It was like, oh my God. But now he's got his campaign together a little. It's kind of generic. Comes out with his, I'm fighting for conservatism against other Americans. It's so blatantly kind of draconian and a little bit surreal in some of his stuff. I'm going to waste all this taxpayer money not defending you, but defending Governor Stitt's policies. So that's what John O'Connor's all about. That's basically his old campaign. Hey man, vote for me. I'm a yes man for Stitt. You know he's going to win again. Keep me as your attorney general and I'll be yes man, Mr. Stitt. Whatever you need me to do as an attorney, I'm there for you. And that's John O'Connor for you. So that's what we have. We have Ray Carter being upset that the Paycom CEO is donating to the opponent of John O'Connor, the Republican. Oh, and he's also donating money to Joy Hoffmeister, and that upsets Ray Carter to no end. Because my God, he's donating to a Democrat and a Republican, although the Democrat just recently registered as a Democrat and still says she's a Republican. So I don't know how he lines all that up. He really does. He really doesn't. He just kind of just says it and leaves it out there. That's kind of what Ray Carter does. For a guy who's won all these awards in journalism and stuff, he really writes pretty horribly. He does. And it's full of contradictions. It's full of whining and crying. And it's kind of the conservative cowardice that you would expect in today's conservative. Right there with Ray Carter, he's like the poster boy. No, James Lankford's pretty close too. But look at this. One pencil neck, two pencil neck. I see a correlation between some conservative cowards right here. They look like total cowards. So maybe there's something to that. I don't know. But this is Across the Desk with Kit Fairchild. And we'll see you next week.